Okay, so we'll start with Apache Sqoop. We'll complete it today only. So Apache Sqoop was initially developed by Cloudera. So what is Cloudera? Uh, the Hadoop is currently with Apache. Similarly, like Android is of Google, right? So it's Google's Android. So different companies take this Android, and companies like Samsung or Motorola or Xiaomi or LG, they will take this Android and modify and do some changes, and they will give some different name to it or some different version to it. So they are just like taking the open source thing and doing some modification and distributing. Similarly, there is Linux, and there are different players who are taking it like CentOS, Ubuntu, Red Hat, and some others. So they are also like this is your Linux, and they are just doing some modification and selling it out or distributing for free. Similarly, for Hadoop also, once it comes from Apache, then it will be taken by any different vendors, mainly Cloudera, Hortonworks, and Mapr. So these company will take Hadoop, do some simple some modifications, maybe improve some performance, put some their own UI, and so on, and they will distribute it. So the version that we are working on a virtual machine we are working on Cloudera. Similarly, you can have a virtual machine of Hortonworks or Mapr, and you can work on it. Okay. So this is basically Cloudera, which is a company and which takes Hadoop and does some modification, and they will be selling it off. They will be selling it to customers. So this particular tool, the name of the tool is Sqoop. It was originally developed by Cloudera and later on open source to Apache. So it is under Apache. So it is licensed under Apache Software Foundation, and it is open source. Originally developed by Cloudera and currently with Apache, open source licensed under Apache Software Foundation. Okay. If you have any queries in between, just stop me and ask. Then we'll start with introduction to Sqoop. Sqoop is used for data insertion into Hadoop or exporting the data from Hadoop, usually from RDBMS system. So this is your RDBMS system, this is your Hadoop. In RDBMS system, you can have, it provides connectivity to almost all the systems, Oracle, Oracle DB2, mainframes, anything. And Sqoop will be used to insert the data into Hadoop. In Hadoop also, it supports different file systems like the HDFS. HDFS is the native file system on which everything resides. So you can directly put the data into HDFS, and you can also put the data directly into Hbase. Hbase, what we studied yesterday and in the last week. You can also put the data into Hive tables created in Hive. Anyhow, Hbase and Hive is on top of HDFS only. So it supports HDFS, it supports Hbase. You can directly put the data in Hive. So what is Sqoop? Sqoop is a data ingestion tool. It is a data ingestion tool. Sqoop is a data ingestion tool. Some people also call it as a ETL tool. However, it is not a full-fledged ETL tool. Extract, transform, load. So some people also call it as a ETL tool. However, it is not a full-fledged ETL tool. Not a full-fledged ETL tool. So people do call it as a ETL tool, but it is not a full-fledged ETL tool. It doesn't have all the things that a particular ETL tool can do. So it should be called as a data ingestion tool. So you can either put the data from RDBMS to a Hadoop. So if you are putting the data from RDBMS to Hadoop, you will call it as import. The data that is from RDBMS into Hadoop will be called as import. Similarly, you can also put back the data. You have taken the data from RDBMS, done some processing in Hadoop. Now you want to put back the data. You can also put back the data into some RDBMS system. So that is called as an export. So it can import the data into Hadoop and it can also export the data from Hadoop. Anyone, any doubts? Let me know. Okay. Before Sqoop came, people had to write the code in Java. So you have to write the code to move the data. So they had to write a map reduce program in a Java. So they will write a map reduce program in Java that can import the data from RDBMS or that can put back the data into RDBMS. After Sqoop came, you don't have to write any program. You just have to give source and destination. Give destination and source. You can also specify where condition. Let's say you don't want to import the entire table, you only want to import some particular data. You can also specify the where condition like you do in SQL. And it supports incremental and full load. Full load means I want to load the entire table. If I want to load an entire table, it means full load. I will be loading the entire table always. Or it can also be an incremental, that is, first time I will do full load and from next time onwards I will just do an incremental load. Maybe on the basis of timestamp or some other unique field. I can also do a incremental load. So no need of loading the table completely daily. So what this Sqoop does for you is, Sqoop behind the scenes does the same thing. What you were doing over here. You were writing a map reduce program in Java. Sqoop also behind the scenes, once you specify all these things, it writes a map reduce program for you. It writes a map reduce. It writes a Java program for you. However, the reduce is not required because we just need to fetch the data. We don't have to do anything. What does a mapper do? Mapper, if you remember, it does a key value pair and it reduces the key value pair. But we don't have any processing. We don't require reducing any key value pair. So we don't need a reducer over here. Sqoop just writes a map program. It just writes a map program in Java. So it will only write a mapper. So it can be an interview question. Is it possible to have only mapper? Then the answer should be yes. It is possible to have only mapper. One of the example that does only mapper behind the scene is the Sqoop. So whenever you do a Sqoop, whenever you import or export the data using Sqoop, it only writes a mapper program. It generates a mapper program in Java behind the scenes. So Sqoop is the example wherein there is only mapper. Anyone, any doubts? Let me know.
Yeah. What does that mean? Only wrapper and
only mapper.
Yeah. Sorry, only mapper.
Yeah. Okay.
So
bit difficult to explain now, but let me try because it is part of starting first module. Let me try. Let's say you are doing, I will just take the same example. So let's say you are doing a word count program. So there is a string A, B, C, A, B, C. So you want to do a word count program. Each word is coming how many times? Like A is coming one time, B is coming one time, A is coming two times, B is coming two times, and C is coming one time, and SEE is coming one time. So to do this, this is a recap of MapReduce. So to do this, there is two parts. two parts that is done. First part is called as a mapper, wherein you specify the key value pair. You make the key value pair.
Yeah, now I got it.
Okay.
It doesn't scope. It doesn't have reducer.
Yes, Sqoop doesn't have a reducer. Let's still complete if someone else is also taking something. So it will assign a key value pair. A will be key and value will be 1. B is key, value will be 1. C is key, value will be 1. A is 1. B is 1. C is 1. And when it does reducer, it combines the key value pair. Over here, key is the word and value is the 1. So you have assigned the value 1 to everything. So this task is done by a mapper program. And finally it will combine the key value pair. So you can see that A is 2 times. So reducer will combine the key value pair. So it will be 1 comma 1, something like this. And B is how many times? B is again 2 times. C is how many times? C is only 1 time. And there is SEE, that is 1 time. So this part is done by a reducer, and finally you get a result as A is equal to 2, B is equal to 2, C is equal to 1, SEE is equal to 1.
So one question. So this big data is all about key and values. I mean, basically.
Yeah, basically it's all about keys and values.
Okay.
So C will come over here and C will come over here. So in that case, there will be only a mapper program because we don't have any other task to do. We just need to import the data. So after importing the data, I don't have to do any processing. I don't want to reduce the data or anything else. So there is only a mapper required. Anyone, any doubts?
Yeah, Harish. So, like Harish, in this map, you're telling so in case I would like to do the same example using Sqoop, right? So, see, my target is to get the word count right from the text file, right?
Right.
But you're telling only the mapper comes into the role, then we will get only key and values, right? And there would be no reducer, like there is no reducer logic that is going to be written. Then how can I get the word count using the Sqoop itself?
No, Sqoop is not for word count. Sqoop is not for word count. Sqoop is only to import the data or export the data. The word count, if you want to do, you will either write a traditional map reduce program, or maybe you will write a Hive program, or you will write Pig, or maybe if I go outside map reduce, I will write Spark. So Sqoop is not for map reduce program.
Okay. Then even Sqoop, why Sqoop even needs this mapper program also?
Just to import the data, it has to write some program, right? So it has to write some Java program that can initialize the session, do the connectivity, then fetch the data, whatever is the condition given according to where condition and so on. So for that purpose, the program that it writes is a simple, or it's a program that is called as a mapper.
Okay. Okay, probably that example can help me a lot to understand it. Because still I'm not 100% clear like why mapper is into the picture.
It's just a program that is written. So you call it as a mapper because it doesn't do any reducing work. It doesn't reduces the data. So when I'm fetching some data from any RDBMS system, I just need to fetch the data. I don't have to do any processing on that particular data. So it's like if I want processing on that particular data, then I need a reducer job.
Okay.
I just want to do fetching.
Okay. All right.
So what are the features of Sqoop? So Sqoop supports full as well as incremental load. So full load means I want to load the data completely. I want to load the entire table. Whereas the incremental load means I want to just load some part of the table. Like I will do full load, full table load on the first time, and from second time onwards, I will just load the incremental data, whatever new data is added. It supports parallel import and export. So if you want to import something from a source RDBMS, it is of 1 GB. And I say that I want in 4 mappers. So what it will do is it will fetch 250 MB each, and it will be in parallel. So in parallel, it will fetch the data. So it will be more fast. So it supports parallel import and export. It can import result of SQL query. So you can write a SQL query and you can say that I want the output of this. Like I don't want the entire table. I can just write a SQL query, select star from this table where roll number is equal to 10. So it will just import whatever is having roll number equal to 10. So I can write complex SQL queries also, and I can just selectively import something using a SQL query. It supports compression. Behind the scenes, it provides connector to all major RDBMS system. It provides connector to all major RDBMS systems. So you can connect to MySQL, Oracle, mainframes, or whatever. It supports Kerberos security or integration. So even if the Kerberos is installed in your Linux operating system for controlling the access path, like who is able to access Linux and so on. So it also supports Kerberos security integration. You can load data directly in, you can load in HDFS for sure, but you can also directly load in Hbase and Hive as well. So you can also load directly into HDF. You can also load from into Hbase and Hive directly. And it also supports most of the NoSQL databases also. It also supports NoSQL databases to fetch the data from NoSQL databases. So how's the architecture? So this is how the Sqoop looks like. It supports import, export, so you are having a RDBMS system, MySQL, Oracle, DB2. So you can import the data into Hadoop. So you are having Hadoop over here. You can either import directly in HDFS, or you can put in Hbase, or you can put in Hive. So this will be called as an import, and you can also export the data. So over here you can have any database like RDBMS, MySQL, Oracle, DB2. You can also have NoSQL. So whatever is the data that is coming from your traditional application is coming to your RDBMS database, maybe from your websites or portals. It is coming into your RDBMS database, and from there you can import into Hadoop, and you can also export back. So this is how it looks like. Anyone, any doubts, let me know.
So what would be the business scenario? Because if we are just importing and exporting it back, like vice versa we are doing. So what would be the business scenario in which I need this kind of requirement? Like I got your point. Like we are interacting with the website portals, right? And we are pulling the data from the RDBMS. That's fine. And like we are exporting the data back from HDFS or Hbase or Hive to RDBMS, and then we are pulling the data to the websites. So what could be the requirements on which we can think of using this Sqoop part?
Okay. In fact, Sqoop is used in almost all the applications or all the implementations of Hadoop. Okay, how does it helps is, let's say you are working on let's take a logistics application wherein you need to track where is your consignment going on, how is the progress, where it is taking more amount of time. So in RDBMS you already have all the data. You have entire data that a consignment one had reached, maybe let's say it is being shipped from China to Singapore. So let's say it was with the vendor maybe, or who is providing, then uh, it was with vendor on 12th of January. Then let's say it went to airport on 14th of January. It reached, maybe it's in China, it's in Singapore, and it reached airport on 14th of January again. Then from airport it went to distribution center on 15th of January, and from distribution center it to my home it took around, it reached me on 18th of January, so it took 6 days in total. So this is my entire data that is available in my RDBMS system. So it is not just for a single consignment, it is for uh, thousands and hundred millions of consignment that are going daily or monthly and so on. So what I do over here is, let's say I want to do some analysis on a particular month's data. So I will just import the entire January data over here and I bring into Hadoop. Now in Hadoop, I write the entire logic wherein I just find the different points. Vendor is taking how much days? So vendor over here took 2 days, 12 to 14. So it took around 2 days. China airport took around 1 day. Singapore airport took around, took 0 day, I can say, because on the same day it was sent. Singapore airport took around 1 day. Then distribution center 15, 16, 17. Distribution center took around 3 days. So similarly, what I can do is import all this data, do this kind of analysis, and I find the average of everything, and I come to conclusion that uh, average is also coming. Let's say vendor is coming 2.5 days, Singapore airport is coming 1.1 days, and China airport is coming 0.5 days, and distribution center is coming around 4.5 days. They are taking around 4.5 days to deliver. So I did all this analysis after importing the data in Hadoop. Because it is very big data now, I cannot do the analysis in RDBMS. So I have to take this data into Hadoop, and I did this analysis for the entire month or the entire year. And whatever is this particular data, I need to, because my other systems where I can view the data from is not connected over here. The viewing is also over here. So I need to export this data back to my RDBMS system, any system, and so that this particular data can be shown nicely on a graph or something, and that particular thing is connected to your Oracle or something here. So in that case, I need to export back the data as well. Also, maybe once you go ahead and once you are exploring more, you can see that there are different softwares like Tableau and ClickView, which directly connect from Hadoop and also show the data over here. So it again depends on the use case. If you are already having a viewing mechanism over here, you already have a portal that can show you this kind of data. Why will you use Tableau and ClickView again? Why will you invest over here? It is a license thing. You need to pay for it. So instead of that, just export the data to the RDBMS. So you have imported the data to Hadoop and you did some analysis, and now you want to export back the data to your RDBMS system so that You can show the same thing, the same trend, maybe by graphically or some other method on your portals. So is it clear why we need import and export?
Yeah, I mean, it's clear. But yeah, probably yes. But if we can have some more examples, because I don't know when to decide if we need to go for a scoop or not.
Whenever
It's
you
clear.
want to import any data, you have to go for scoop.
Uh-huh. Okay.
Whenever you want to import any data, we'll be doing practical on this.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay.
Okay, so let's draw something. This is a user who want to import some data. So this user will interact with the machine wherein the scoop is installed in the cluster. So what he will do is, you are having two parts, Hadoop and your RDBMS or whatever is your database. So this is your traditional database. Which can have a data warehouse. You're already having a data warehouse, or you are having some document based database, or you are having RDBMS, relational database. So whenever you do a scoop, what the scoop will do? Scoop will internally write a map reduce program. It will internally write a map reduce program, but as we said that it doesn't have a reduce, so I will say that it's only a map. So it will make a map task, and it can import the data in HDFS, Hbase, or Hive, wherever you want to import the data. So whenever you say you want to import this table, a map task is written, then whichever database you want to import from, it will communicate from that particular database, take the data and push back into Hadoop or HDFS or Hive or Hbase. You can do this using command line. So it provides a command line interface called a CLI. It provides CLI, command line interface. It also has a Java API to import and export the data from RDBMS to Hadoop and Hadoop to RDBMS. And it only writes a map task. So it can be RDBMS to HDFS, or it can be back. So it can be either an import or it can be an export. So these are the things that is done by Sqoop. Anyone, any queries so far, or else we can go to practicals.
No query.
Okay. So what we'll do is, the time is 10:39 or 10:40 local. We'll take a break for 11 minutes and we'll come back at 10:50 a.m. If you want to practice with me, then you can also bring up the virtual machine. So if you want to practice the import, then you can also bring up the virtual machine and we'll do some practical importing the data from MySQL or something. So you can also bring up the virtual machine if you want to practice. We'll come back in 10 minutes. Okay, so we'll be starting with the practical, but we'll try to import some data. First start working with MySQL, then we'll try to import some data from MySQL. So first step, you can see that start a MySQL. So to start the MySQL, This is the command MySQL. Then you have to provide your user ID and password. User ID is root and password is Cloudera. So I start MySQL over here. MySQL, u root, and password is Cloudera. So you can see that MySQL has started. If you want to see all the available databases that is available in MySQL, you can see it using show databases. So these are the different databases that are available for you. You can definitely see this retail_db. Some things may be not visible for you. So, but this retail_db will be there for sure. So this already comes in the virtual machine that you have installed. Retail_database is already present over here. So we are going to use this particular database. To use this database, the command is this one: use retail_database. So it says that the database has changed. So we are inside this particular database, retail_db. If I do show tables, so you can see these different tables. Again, we will be working on this orders table, and orders table will be present in your virtual machine also. So to see all the tables that are present in your database, the command is show tables. If you are having any queries, just stop me in middle. If you want to check the schema, what are the fields inside it, the command is describe. So you can write describe orders. So these are MySQL commands only, so you may be familiar with this. These are all MySQL statements. So it is having these fields: order ID, order date, order customer ID, and order status. This is the primary key, this is integer, this is datetime, this is integer, this is a varchar of 45. So you can see the schema using describe. If you want to see the data inside it, you can do it select star from order. Spelling mistake. Select star from orders. So this is the data that is present inside this orders tables in retail_db database. And that's it. There are 68,883 rows, and if I want to exit from it, I will do quit, and it comes out. Anyone having any doubts in this MySQL part? Till now what we did was we first started MySQL, then we saw all the databases using show database, and this was the database that is available. Then I said that I want to use this particular database by use retail_db. I said show tables, then this was the table available. I saw the schema of the table, describe orders, how it looks, these were the fields. And then I saw what is the data inside it by select star from orders, and finally I did quit. Anyone having any queries in MySQL part?
No.
Okay. So this was about MySQL, seeing the same thing from MySQL. Now let's see how we can see the same thing from Sqoop. So now we'll be working on Apache Sqoop. Previously we just saw in MySQL how the MySQL is, what are the things in MySQL. We'll see the same thing using Sqoop. So let's say you're working on a Hadoop cluster and you want to see the data from your MySQL server, or what are the databases that are available over there. So let me copy paste. Copy paste. Okay, so what are we doing over here is we are saying that Sqoop lists the database, connect to this particular server. So this particular server you have to provide whatever is the IP address or whatever is the URL. So you provide the user ID, then you provide the password. So what you are doing over here, you are asking, you are listing the databases. So you should be able to see all the database. So what Sqoop will do, it will establish the connection with MySQL using these two, user ID and password, and it will list the database. So these are the different database available. You can see that retail_db database is available over here also. So this is how you can list all the databases. Anyone having any doubts, let me know. What are we doing over here? We are saying we want to use Sqoop. What is this? Anyone, what we are doing over here?
We are just retrieving list of tables
We are
from.
getting list of tables. What is this?
This is where we are connecting to the
Okay.
server where the database is.
And if you notice over here, we are also giving /database name. So we are
Yeah.
else it will take from the default database. So we need to give the database name from where we need to fetch. So we are saying that we want to fetch from retail_db. What is these two?
Username and password of the
Okay,
database.
great. So it shall give me all the tables. Basically, whatever I saw from MySQL, I should also be able to see all those tables over here. So you can see that these are the tables. And this is my orders table, which I also saw from MySQL. So we are in the step number 2, list all the tables. So you should see this orders. You should see orders. You are able to see orders table. Okay, let's go ahead. Let's go ahead and see this one. Okay, anyone what this will do? Sqoop. We are saying Sqoop. Then what is this?
Import is like we are just trying
Import.
to retrieve the data from database to Hadoop.
Okay, so we are getting it from MySQL into Hadoop. Okay.
Hadoop.
Then what is this?
Connection string to server.
Also, we have specified something else also.
Database.
Database. Okay, what is this?
This is table name.
Table name we want to import. What is this?
Username and password of
This password. Okay, great. So I'm just trying to fetch the data, import the data from MySQL into Hadoop. So you can see that map reduce. Then you will also see map jar is deprecated. Map reduce, use map reduce jar. It is still using the deprecated things. It is giving all the information what it is doing. It has submitted number of splits as 4. Okay, we'll discuss on this number of splits as 4. Why it did 4 only? It is also an interview question. Why it does 4? Okay, so you can see that it is doing a map reduce task. Behind the scenes, it is doing a map reduce task. It has submitted the job. If you want to track this job, just click on this link. You can track this job also. So it is running this particular job ID. Map is completed 0%. Reducer is completed 0%. Okay. So this is the question: why the default split for Sqoop is 4? Okay, how we can change it, we'll see later on. But for now, why the default split is 4? It is a interview question. So it is set default to 4 by Apache or initially by Cloudera, because it assumes that the system that you are working will have at least a quad core processor. It will have at least a quad core processor. It will have a 4 cores. So since it is assuming that the system you are working will have at least 4 cores, you can do 4 things in parallel. You can do 4 things in parallel. Since you are having 4 cores, you can do 4 things in parallel very effectively. So that's the reason it's set to 4. Sometimes they can ask not very much, because people may not even be knowing, some people. But yes, it can be asked in interview that why the split is 4. Default split is 4. So they have set it to 4 because they assume that the system that you will be working will have at least 4 cores. Okay. So what we have done over here is we have imported the data. We have imported the data now. We have imported the data. So it transferred around 2 MB in some seconds, 84 seconds. So all these details are available over here. You can see that only a mapper job run. There is no reducer. Map went 0, 25, 50, 100. There is no reducer job that is running, only a mapper job is running. So let's see whether a data is imported or not. So to see the data, I can copy this particular command, see whether a data is imported or not. Okay. So I'm doing HDFS DFS, which says that I'm running a Hadoop command. HDFS DFS is the prefix whenever I use any Hadoop command. So either you can use HDFS DFS or you can also use Hadoop space FS. Both are okay. Some people prefer to use HDFS DFS and some people prefer to use Hadoop/FS, Hadoop file system, HDFS, Hadoop distributed file system, DFS. So some people prefer to write HDFS DFS as a prefix. Some people prefer to write Hadoop FS as a prefix. It's okay. So what is this cat doing? Cat is the normal Linux command that is also over here to view the data. I'm saying that I want to view the data from user, Cloudera, orders, partem. Since I did not specify where I want, what is the destination, it took by default the current directory. So it's inside user, Cloudera, orders, partem star. So if I do this, I'm doing this cat operation. So I can see the data is coming. What happened to my mouse? Okay. So I can see that the same amount of rows, 68,883, is already there in Hadoop. It has already reached Hadoop. I can see inside Hadoop. So either I can see using this command HDFS DFS, then cat and give where my data is imported, or else I can also go from Hui file browser and I can also see from here. So let's also see from here. So open this browser, then click on Hui. Then click on manage HDFS. If you do it full screen, you can also see file explorer. Okay. Let me do it full screen. You can also see file browser. So if it is small screen, then you cannot see file browser. So this is where you have to click manage HDFS or file browser. Now where is my data imported? Data is imported in user Cloudera orders. So I'm already inside user Cloudera. I can go inside orders. This is where the data is imported. So once the data is imported, there will be a marker like underscore success or underscore failure, using which you can understand whether it was successful or failed. So if there is any other processing that wants to do after this, so that processing will first check whether it was a success or failure before doing the processing. And you can see that it is imported in 4 parts, almost the same sizes. So it imported in 4 parts because it was running in 4 split. And you can see that all the data is present over here. Some data is present over here. It's 182 rows are present over here. 184. Okay, there are 184 pages in total, and there are some number of records in each page. So you can do next and see. So what we saw that the data was successfully imported. Anyone having any doubts so far?
I just want to see that read command from all 4 files.
Okay.
I mean, because we did not specify some particular file.
Okay. Sure. So what I did was user Cloudera orders, then part-m-star. So what this part-m-star does is it fetches from everything part-m-star. You can also put 10 and star, it should still work.
Thank you.
So we just used wildcard. Okay, so we already saw the data. Now, what if I want at a specific destination? I don't want at a default destination. I don't want to import at the default destination. I want the data to be imported at a particular specific destination. I don't want it in user/Cloudera. I don't want, I want to segregate the data properly. So you can say me, what is this doing, Sqoop? What is this?
Sqoop is importing from
Is it
this
connection
connect
URL and database? What is
database
this?
order table we are importing. This is username and password of database.
Okay, what we're specifying now extra?
Yeah. Target. Oh,
Target
not
directory.
target. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm specifying the target directory over here. I'm specifying it at the root level, and root level I am specifying inside Sqoop 180617. I will just make it date. So 190127, today's date. I'm just giving Sqoop 190127. So the thing that I'm doing over here is I'm also specifying the target directory. I'm also specifying the target directory. Okay, so it is importing the data. You can track it. Again, you can see mapper task running. So we are basically importing at the different location. Map is 0%, radius is 0%. Okay, it is taking a while to import. Maybe around 1+ minute it will take. So mapper is 25% completed, 100% completed. It took around 75 seconds. Then transferred 2.8 MB of data. And again, if I want to see the data whether it is successfully imported or not, the command is over here, hdfs cat. Let me copy from here directly. So I will change to today's date, 190127, and as I said, dfs is prefix, cat is to see the data, this is the location, and I want to view this particular data. I should be able to see the data from here. So you can see that the data is already imported in this directory as well. If you want to see from Hui also, you can also go to this root directory, then you can see Sqoop 190127, and you can see that data is imported over here as well. So what we did now was in these steps we specified a particular destination. We specified a particular destination. We had specified directory. Anyone any doubts so far, or else we can go ahead? Okay, if no doubts, then we'll go ahead. We'll go ahead to the next thing, and we will be doing a selective import. Now we'll be doing a selective import. We don't want everything. We just want selective data. So what is this? You will be explaining me the same thing again. Sqoop import. What is this? Anyone?
Yes, sir. It's a connection string from data.
Connection URL. Okay, what is this?
This is table name,
What is this?
username and password.
This is something different now.
Yeah, it's a kind of query we are putting?
Yeah, so we are just specifying the where condition. This is not the query we'll do later on. Now we are just specifying the where condition. So we are saying that where order ID is equal to 1. So, and this is my target directory. I have added A in after that. I will just change the date as well, 19/01/27. So over here I am trying to import some data, and I am specifying the where ID, target directory, and this is my target directory. So I have specified that I just want order ID 1. I just want order ID 1. I don't want the entire data. I just want order ID as 1. Okay, so it has retrieved successfully. If I want to view the data again, I can just run cat and 19/01/27 is the date. So I can do this cat and I can see the data. What it says. What went wrong? 19/01/27. A says that picked up Java. That's okay. Okay, now yeah, data is over here. Only one row. So it is having only one row because we fetched only for the order ID as 1. We fetched only the order ID as 1. Then let's see the data over here as well. A. Let's open this and we can see that there is only one record fetched, order ID as 1. So is it clear? Is where condition clear? Anyone having any doubts?
No doubt.
Okay. So let's go to incremental import. Okay. So in incremental import, you need to specify 3 things. One is the incremental mode, column ID, and what was the last value that you imported. So let's say I will specify where I need an incremental mode, whether I want to append the data or what, or I want to replace the data. So I will specify the incremental mode. Then I will say that the last order ID I fetched was 50,000. I want from 50,000 onwards. So this is how we do the incremental data import. Let's try to do a incremental data import. Okay. Okay. So I will specify where I want to import a 19/01/27B. Okay. So here it is. Can you say what is this for? What?
Sqoop is mentioned. Sqoop, it's mentioned to retrieve data.
Okay, import the data. This is a connection URL with the database. This is my table name. This is my username. This is my password. And now I'm saying that I want in an incremental mode and it should amend the data. The column that I'm checking is order ID and I want 50,000 onwards, more than 50,000, whatever is the ID more than 50,000. And this is my target directory 19/01/27B.
Okay.
Why is this coming behind? target directory. I don't need this one. Target directory Sqoop 190127B. So we are doing an incremental import. We are saying that we have already imported till 50,000 and we want to load the data 50,000 onwards. So if there is a big tables, there is no meaning of doing a full load daily. So if we are able to determine it can be imported incrementally, then we'll be doing an incremental import. So we should get the data after 50,000 only. So mapper will run map reducer is not required, default number of split is 4. So mapped 0, 25, 50, 75, 100. And if I want to see the data, the command is over here. So I will just copy it. HDFS, DFS, cat, it should be 190127B part M star. So you can see that the data started from 50,000 onwards only. If I scroll up, it is not showing older data. We can see it from Hui. So now we imported in 190127B. It sometimes gives access issue. Just click on this one and come back. 190127B. So now if you see open and see the data is 50,000 onwards because we had already imported till 50,000. It will be 50,001, 50,002 and so on. So this was about the incremental import. Then we'll see we want to import all the tables. We want to import all the tables. Let's say for the first time when we are setting up, I want to import all the tables. Then to import all the tables, it's this one. Sqoop, I say import all the tables. I specify the MySQL and database over here, user ID and password. So I'm just saying that import all tables. And it will import all the tables that are present inside this particular database. Whatever is present inside retail_db, it will import all the tables. So this will import all the tables. Anyone having any doubts till now? Anyone having any doubts, or else we can go ahead. Importing all the tables will take more time. We'll not wait for it. Let it import at the back. We can go ahead. Okay. So if you notice in the previous examples, what we were doing in the previous examples, whatever we were doing, this part of the thing was very much common. The things that I have highlighted on my left hand side was common. Import was common, connecting to a particular URL was common, user ID was common, password was common. So instead of writing all these things again and again, what I can do is I can just keep it over here. There are two reasons, so that you are saving your time in writing all these things. Second reason is username and password will be hidden from everyone. So you can just copy this and you can set it anywhere. I am setting it up in user Cloudera options. So you want to set it up in user Cloudera options. So let's go in user Cloudera options. Some particular job is running, so it is showing me over here that this one job is running. Okay, user Cloudera options. I want to make something options. Do I already have? I don't have. So let's make it. Full screen. Click on new. Click on file and write options. Cannot perform operation. Note you are a UI admin but not HDFS super user. File already exists exception for client already exists. So it is saying that file is already existing. Why I cannot see? Why I cannot see options? Oh, options is already existing. Let me open this. No, it's just created now. Let's try again. Let me just delete this. Go to trash. Yes. Then go to new. I want file, options, create. Cannot perform operation. So some authority issue. Let's try with different ID. Let's just delete this options and try from the different user ID. Let's try with the root ID. Password should be Cloudera only. No. Let's try root. Okay, just try to find what is the password for Let's try to find password. Downloaded this. I am trying to quick start VM. Defaults are username demo, password demo. It's incorrect. What is the default if you installed this? Admin don't work here. Let's still try admin. No. Cloudera is working, but it is not able to set admin, Cloudera, none of these work. Okay. Following are the instructions. Okay, never mind. Let's try something else. So I want to write this particular code in options and want to specify these options. Let's come out of V and try one more time. Cloudera. Should not happen. It should allow usually. Some mess up with authority, it seems. New file options Sqoop. New file options 1. New file options 1. Okay. Options Sqoop. Edit the file. Okay, so I have written this. Save. Let's see if it allows to save. Okay, so it worked. It allowed me to save this time. Not sure what was the problem before. It was giving some authority related issue, but it says that it was able to save now. So let's go out and see whether the data is saved or not. So I was saved inside options, scoop, all these things. So this thing I don't have to write again and again. Sqoop, import. Oh, it's a wrong thing that I have saved. I should be saving this particular thing. Edit the file. Okay, and save it. Okay, so it's saved inside it. We can go out and see again. Options, scoop. I have saved inside options, scoop. Import, connect, JDBC, MySQL, whatever is the URL, whatever is the database. This is my username and this is my password. So for now, what I've done is this was a common piece of code that I required in almost all the instructions so far. I just saved it inside this. Is it clear? Anyone having any doubts in this? Anyone, any doubts?
No, no.
Okay. Okay, so I'm saying that scoop. I'm not saying anything. I'm not specifying anything. I'm just saying that options file is options.txt. Should be options scoop, and it should not be .text because I did not specify as .text. Let's try table orders where order ID is equal to 1 and 190127. So what is this doing? What is this scoops? What is option file specifying now? Option file is specifying everything. It is specifying what we are doing, whether we are doing import or we are doing export, whatever we are doing, it is specifying. Then it is also specifying your user ID, your password, your database name. Over here you are specifying table, over here you are specifying the where condition, and over here you are specifying the target directory. Let's see if it works. So warning, accumulator does not exist, accumulator import will fail. Set this error while expanding the argument options scoop, unable to read the options file options scoop. What is unable to read? Let's try .txt. Unable to read options file. Error while expanding, unable to read this file at this. Let's specify everything. User, Cloudera. Unable to read this one. Why options file is giving issue? Warning, accumulo does not exist.
That's because it's also mentioned on maybe.
Can you come again?
Scoop is mentioned in file also and here in command also. Then we are writing 2 times scoop, that's why.
But it's not saying that way. Let's try to create it by the same name and try again. Whatever we just created, let's try to create an options file again with the same name. So I had created options scoop. I just copy this whatever I created over here, go back, create options.txt or options first, options, then options is created, then I go inside options, then I go inside edit file. Now options also I am able to change, so I changed into options, and I try to import from options, unable to read, it's unable to read again. Should not be a problem. Why it is causing problem? Let's try with super user root, and let's copy back the command. (190127). Unable to read options.
Can we open the file here? I mean, direct.
Let's try. hdfs dash cat user slash cloudera slash options. Just
So here we are writing, I mean, user Cloudera options. I mean, this path we are giving here.
okay.
But when we are just writing that command, we are not writing this kind of path. So
This
does
path
it
is not
matter?
required. See over here also I did not write any path because by default that is the path user Cloudera. If I am working on any other path apart from this, apart from my user ID, then I need to specify. Okay. Let me just check whether I'm doing something wrong. Whether it is expecting the data in HDFS or it is expecting the data into Linux operating system. Reason I am saying this because when it says that if I try to troubleshoot this, whenever I say this one, it says that it is unable to get this file. It is unable to get this file. Unable to read this file. Unable to read this file options, but it never says that it is trying to read from HDFS. So it is possible that it is trying to read from my Linux path. What I can do is I can go into Linux path, file system, let it be home Cloudera only, and is there any options over here? Let me create options over here. Let me try from here. Create a document, empty document. Let me give it name as options.txt, and no, not this one. Where is options? This was the common piece of code. I just copied this common piece of code and I paste it inside options.txt, save it, and now it's inside options.txt in my Linux environment. And let's try from here. This should work now. Scoop options file options and table order where, okay, should work. No, still not.
And the data which we have saved in the file, that is in a separate line. So
It doesn't matter if it's separate
Okay.
line or same line. Doesn't matter really. Let's try home Cloudera. Unable to read file. From where it is reading? Sqoop error while expanding the arguments. Let's see what is the syntax for Sqoop. Let's go to tutorials point better. Let's search for Sqoop. My mouse is behaving crazy today. Stop getting stops to work. Sqoop tutorial. Okay. Then let's go to Sqoop tutorial. Let's get to let's go to selective or let's select for options. Can I see something options? Import all table is there. Import all table we saw. Are they using options somewhere? No, they can't find the options in this website. Sqoop import by specifying options. Sqoop by specifying options file example. So let's open the Sqoop guide itself. How to specify directory for work files. Okay, so just select for options, passing the options file. Okay, so what it says, when using Sqoop, the command line when using the Sqoop, the command line options that do not change from invocation to invocation, put the options file. Then for example, following is the connection. Sqoop import connect to this one, this one, this one. So it is specifying the file inside users home or work. So it is specifying inside where the options contains this one. So he has copied everything over here, and the options file can have empty lines and comments for readability. So the above example would exactly work same. Then it is specifying, so now they have shown it using uh, comments inside it. So this is how they do Sqoop import, Sqoop options file, and options file they are doing inside users home or work import. So to specify the option file, simply create options file in a convenient location and pass it to the command line. So for us why it is not working, we have also created inside user Cloudera. Let's copy this one while importing. So they have created options.txt file. Let's try to do this. Where have we created? We have created inside user Cloudera, and we have created the file name is options. We have created inside user slash Cloudera slash options. And when we are importing, okay, when we are importing, we are saying that user where are we user slash Cloudera slash options, I hope I'm not doing any spelling mistake, silly spelling mistake. User slash Cloudera slash options. And I'm specifying this one. Let's get rid of few overheads. So scoop options file, table name is orders, and table directory is this one. Why it is unable to read? What's going wrong? Not doing anything wrong. Please set accumulator to root installation. So let's quickly try to see one time if we are getting, because we are doing it correct way as per the scoop documentation at Apache website. Unable scoop, unable to locate options file. Scoop unable to locate options file. Uzi scoop job failing, unable to read options file. Okay, so it is some common error. People have faced it before. Can't find the file. Okay. Then I've got a problem while running Scoop's job in Uzi. When I run using this command, option file is this, and I upload the file and the options on my file location file and HDFS. But I got this error, unable to read this file. So yes, it's the same error. Can you please specify the parameter file contents as below? Okay, make sure the parameter file is located on HDFS under TMP as you have indicated as your options file. Okay, ours is existing, something like this. So yes, it's there at this particular path. Let me ask you one question where I should upload the options file to a local file system or to HDFS. I read the files should be located in the local file system and not HDFS because Scoop is not able to read file from HDFS. From the error you pasted, I tried to see something I did, but I know where is the problem. I have a multi-node cluster, and when I try to run the scoop job in Uzi using Hui Yarn, select one of the cluster and try to find the option in the node. And now when I try to run the scoop job in Uzi using Hui, the Yarn choose one of that node in the log file. Job will run perfectly because there is an option file in the node 1. On the other hand, Yarn is choosing node 2 or node 3 and the job is failing. Do you know how can I solve this problem? Okay, he's getting this problem because he was working on a multi-node cluster and he has saved in one of the Linux location. So let's do a last try. We already have our options.txt. We have already put a lot of time troubleshooting this. Let's do a last try, and if it still doesn't work, then probably I will try myself and I will get back to you. Options.txt. So I'm trying from a local path. Home Cloudera options.txt. Let's try it. Okay, this time it worked. So the problem that previously it was not working was we were setting it in HDFS. It requires the path should be the file to be in the Linux environment. It should be in the edge node or where the Hadoop is there. So it is working. It is trying to import now. The import task is running. So finally, after doing some troubleshoot, we are able to successfully import. So the problem that was happening so far was we were copying this file inside this directly. Instead of doing this, it should be home Cloudera options and and make it as options.txt because over here I am specifying options.txt. Okay. So the problem was we were specifying the HDFS directory, but actually it is expecting the options file in the Linux environment. So by now you also got a idea that how, if you're getting this problem, how you should approach towards solving it. You can first see whether you're doing it correctly or not using the documentation you have at Apache website. Or if first point, what I do is I first try to go into tutorials point if I can find it over there, because it is much easier way. But a few of these complex things or the non-common things will not be there in tutorials point. Tutorials point will have only the high level. So we saw that in tutorials point there was we couldn't find this options.txt. So we went into Apache documentation. There we realized that it is correct. Then we checked in Stack Overflow. In Stack Overflow, we found that, oh, it should be referring from the Linux environment. Anyone having doubts so far?
Yeah, so I just want to check where is Linux environment and user environment in Cloudera.
Okay. 19.0.27. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
So how it works is most of the Hadoop distributions will have. Let me start this again. So how the Linux environment works is you are having different computers that are connected in parallel. So you are having different computers connected in parallel. Let's say 4 computers, and one is the master node which is controlling all these computers. So all of these computers is having Linux installed. Hadoop will be installed mostly on top of Linux. It also supports Windows from Hadoop 2.x, but it will be mostly installed in Linux. So on all of these machines will have HDFS installed. So Linux is having its own hard disk and its own storage. If since you are attending now, we have also covered Linux before. So once you do Linux, you will know that how is the file structure. So Linux is having its own file structure, like we can see over here. If we go inside the virtual machine and we go inside not terminal, file browser. Okay, so it is having its own it is having root directory, all these libraries, and inside all these libraries you are having something. So whatever I am storing over here is actually your Linux environment. This is your Linux. We are working on Linux. And where is my terminal? Let's start one terminal. So ls/. Okay, so whenever we do this way, ls/, it is listing me all the directories of my Linux. ls/home, ls/home/cloudera. So this is my Linux environment when I am working over here.
Okay.
And
okay, so I think that the file should be saved locally in Linux, not in Hadoop.
Yes.
Okay.
When I do this way, HDFS, DFS, so this gives me the file structure of my Hadoop.
Hadoop, yeah.
My Hadoop distributed file system. So I can see it using this way, HDFS, DFS, or else I can also go inside Hui and I can check there.
Okay, thank you. Got it.
Okay. So these all things actually we covered before only, and yeah. So this was about, we are running over time, it's okay. We'll take more 10 minutes and we'll try to complete. We wasted around 30 minutes, or actually we did something for 30 minutes to troubleshoot some issue. Now what we are doing over here is we are importing only the selective columns. We don't want to import everything. We want to import only the selective columns. So let me copy it. Import the selective columns. It's also running, no problem. So what we are doing over here is first line is Sqoop. So we are saying that we are running Sqoop. Now we are using the options file. We are using the options file, and we are using the where condition. We are using the where condition over here, And what is different over here is we are saying that we only want to fetch this particular columns. We only want these particular columns. Okay. And once the command is run, I can just do cat and I can see whether it is successfully imported or not. So let's copy this and let's paste it. I did not change the date, so it should be the same. 180617D. Okay, so we can see that we only fetched two columns, only order ID and order status. We did not import everything. We only imported a selective column. Any doubts in importing selective column? Any doubts in importing selective column? Anyone?
No, yes.
So let's go ahead and let's import the data directly into Hbase. Let's import the data directly into Hbase. To import the data directly into Hbase, we should first have the table. So let's create a table first in Hbase. View, zoom in, and to start Hbase, you remember yesterday's session, Hbase shell to start it, and I just create a table inside Hbase and I specify the column family. So to create the table inside Hbase, the command is over here, create orders. So the command is over here. I want to first create my table in Hbase. So I need a table in Hbase in order to import anything. So I'm creating a table in Hbase. And now let's try to import inside Hbase. The command is over here. Let's try to import inside Hbase. So what are we doing? We are saying that we want Sqoop. We want to import is everything specified inside options.txt. Everything is specified inside options.txt. What is the user ID? What is the password? MySQL. What is the database? This is the name of the table. This is the name of the columns that we want to import. We want order ID less than 10, and we are saying that I want it in Hbase table in orders, and column family of Hbase table is also orders, and I am specifying Hbase row key as order ID. Okay, so three things we have specified. Yesterday we did Hbase, so you know the table name is orders, then the column family is orders, and the row key is order ID. Anyone, any doubts in this? Anyone, any doubts in this?
No.
Okay. Once this is completed, we can see the data in Hbase by this way. Scan orders. Or else you can also go to Hui, then data browser and Hbase and also see. Let me show both the ways. To see the data in Hbase, the command is scan orders. So to see the data in Hbase, the command is scan orders. The data is still getting imported. I have to wait for a while. Okay, 50% mapper done, 100% mapper done, the data is imported. So we can scan orders and we can see that 1 to 10 is imported, right? So it's an Hbase table. You can see everything your this is your column family, this is your field name, this is your column family, this is your field name, order status, and this order ID is your row key. Order ID is your row key. So you have successfully imported the data inside Hbase. And if you want to see from here, you can also go to data browser, then go into Hbase, and after going into Hbase, you should be able to see one more table orders, and inside orders you can see whatever is the data status. So all this status you can see over here. So this is about importing the data into Hbase, and this was all about import that we wanted to study. Anyone having any doubts, or else we can go to our last part, that is not last part, second last, to export back the data. Okay, we'll go back to exporting the data. And now I want to put back the data. I took the data in from RDBMS into Hadoop. I did some processing. Now I want to put back the data into MySQL server. So to put back the data into MySQL server, let me start MySQL server u-u root-p Cloudera. I am specifying MySQL user ID password. And in order to put back the data in MySQL, I should have some table. So what I will do is I will use this database and I will create a table. I will create a table because I want to put back the data in MySQL. Sqoop won't create the table for you. You have to first create the table in MySQL. So I will use this retail DB. I have used this retail DB, and I want to create a particular table in MySQL where I will be pushing my data. My mouse is behaving crazy today. It is getting turned off again and again. I need to turn off and turn on my mouse again and again. Okay, so it says that create table ORD 180617 ID int not null primary key status varchar 20. So I'm just creating a table ORD 180617. Let's just quickly create a table, and I now have a table wherein I can put my data. I can export my data. I can export my data back. So let's export the data back. So I have my table inside MySQL. So what is this doing? You will let me know, Sqoop. What is this?
We are importing the data to SQL database.
Okay, I want to export it. What is
Yeah,
this specifying?
connection string.
Okay, what is this specifying?
This table.
Table where I want to put back the data in MySQL.
Okay.
I want to put the
SQL.
data over here. What is this specifying?
Database
User
username
ID and
password.
password, and export directory where I have the data. I have the data in Sqoop 180617. Maybe I don't have the data in 180617. It should be 190127. Let's try. Okay, so I am putting back my data. I am exporting the data. It is taking some time. Mapper is starting 0% mapper. It should take more than 1-2 minutes. It should take more than 1 minute. So saying that data truncation is happening because I am putting my entire table into 2 columns. So it's okay. So export is running. It will take some time, and once it is done, then I can simply do select star from ord 180617. Let's try. It's still running, so we have to wait for that to complete. Anyhow, once the export is completed, you can see the data in MySQL. Okay. Meanwhile, it completes. Meanwhile, it is still happening. Meanwhile, it is still running. Just try to see few of the commonly used scoop commands. Okay, scoop jobs. So we can create the jobs. Meanwhile, it is still running. Let's try to understand scoop jobs. Once it is exported, you should be able to see using MySQL by running this command select star from whatever is the table where you exported the data. We're going into the last part, scoop jobs. So scoop jobs is like you can create the job and keep it. So to create a job, this is the command scoop job create first job fst job. So I'm giving this as a fst job, and what this is doing is it is listing all the tables. It is listing all the tables from where? From retail underscore database, specifying the username. To get all the list of jobs, get all the jobs that you already have in the scoop, this is the command scoop job.list. To see what this particular job is doing, you can do it scoop job show first job. So what first job is doing, you want to see, you can do it by show. And if you want to execute this job, it is scoop job dash execute first job. So you, like we did a create over here, like we did a create job, you can also delete the job, you can execute the job, show the job, list the job. So you have done list the job, you have done show the job, you have done execute the job. You can also delete the job. If you don't want this job anymore, you can also delete the job. So instead of execute, you will write it as a delete this job. Okay. So let's try to do this scoop job once this part is done. Oh, export failed for some reason. Okay, export failed for some reason. Error tool.export tool. Error during export. Export job failed. Why it failed? Why it failed? Info failed. Attempt on this status failed. Okay. It says attempt failed. Map reduce job. Can't export the data. Please check the failed map task logs. So you can check those logs as well. Is it giving any handy information? Never mind. We just try the export again. If it works, it's okay. If it doesn't work, then we'll skip for now and later you can try if there is any issue. Then just skip this export for now. Maybe it must have also failed because I had already run this query. So just skip this export part, or else you can try it. If you're still facing issue, you can also try to do some troubleshooting. Else, just try and get back to me. What were you facing when you were trying to do the export? Ideally, it should be working because last time I already ran. Maybe this time I was in a hurry and I just ran the SQL query over here, which is causing a problem. Let's skip this export for now. You can practice it yourself later on. Let's go to Sqoop jobs. I've already explained you the jobs. Just try to run those Sqoop jobs. So I'm creating the job first. It's taking a time to create job. To list all the jobs, the command is sqoop job list. So it will list you all the jobs that are available. Okay, so it says that I only have one job, first job, FST job that I just created. If I want to see what that job is doing, it is show FST job. So show FST job will show what that particular job is doing. It is asking me password, Cloudera. So this doing these things, whatever is the job details, it is showing you the details over here. So you can see these details. If you want to execute this job, it's execute first job. Again, it will ask you password. Password is Cloudera. So it is listing you all the tables. You can see down all the tables are listed. So basically what we did is instead of writing the interactive thing, what we did is we created the job and these are the options. Just practice this thing. And the last thing that I wanted to show is how you can run the query. So this is the last thing I wanted to show. Let's start from here. Sqoop. For running the query, I say eval. This is my MySQL and this is my database. This is my user ID. I am not specifying my table now. This is my user ID. This is my password, and I'm specifying what is my query. Select star from orders where order ID is equal to 1. So let's say you want to. There are times wherein the primary key is not available in that particular table. You have to do join. So in those cases, you can run this query. Now, if you see over here in this query, we wrote eval. So it just evaluated and showed you the result on the screen. Instead of eval, you can also write import. So whatever is the output of this query, that will be imported. So over here, I wanted to demonstrate how we can also write query and specify in Sqoop. Anyone having any doubts in this export part, you try to work it out. If it doesn't work, then let me know. I will try to cover it some other day in some session. Any doubts so far?
No.
Okay. So if no doubts, then we'll end the session for the day. We are already over time, so we'll end the session for the day. Next week I am not available. I am traveling out, so we won't be having the session